Hello, everyone. Welcome to Making the Grade podcast. Tonight, we are sitting down with Maryanne Betso, one of our long-term coaching clients and a certified global luxury specialist with over 24 years in real estate. Currently, Maryanne works and lives in Connecticut with her husband and dog, Bo. When she's not working, she enjoys walking her dog, spending time with her 3 sons, and playing golf. Tonight, Maryanne is here to tell us more about her business and share how structure, systems, and mindset support her consistent success in a fast-paced, high-pressure market. Thank you so much for being here tonight, Maryanne.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so excited about this.
We are too. We're so excited to showcase your story and all of your many talents. And we just know this is her very first episode of, a podcast, but she's one of the most engaging people that we know. Every time we get on a call with her, you just brighten our day. So I'm sure everyone, all the listeners will feel that.
Anyone who's been listening to season 4 of our podcast knows that we're not, even season 3 actually, Christine and I don't always make it on, both of us. We used to always be on every podcast together. Now sometimes we divide and conquer just because we're so busy. But tonight we knew we both had to be here with you.
It's good. I like that.
Where are you talking to us from? Are you in Connecticut right now?
I am in Connecticut right now. I'm actually in my home office. So I have a separate office in my home, and that provides me some nice ability to close all the doors and kind of get some work done and stuff. And it's usually where I take my coaching meetings too.
Love that.
Awesome. I think she might be our first Connecticut guest, actually, which is cool. We love tracking on the map where all of our guests are from. I think you might be the first one in Connecticut.
All right.
You have such an impressive background, 24 years in the real estate business. I mean, we've learned so much from you in just the short amount of time of working with you. I feel like I now understand all the real estate lingo, but take us back to the beginning. What led you to where you are today?
Well, my background is in corporate finance, and I have a degree in accounting, and I used to do corporate accounting and system implementation and things like that, like working in between the accounting departments and the IT department. And it was really great and very lucrative. But I had 3 children within 4 years.
And within 4 years, wow.
Oh, yeah. So I had a 3-year-old, a 1.5-year-old, and a newborn. And I would be getting up and commuting like an hour and 20 minutes each way. And then, finance never gets to leave at 5 o'clock. And it was a lot. And then I had the fortunate experience of being part of a layoff. So I was laid off and got a really hefty severance. And I said, you know what? I think I want to go into real estate. And I say the silly thing that everyone says, I want to have a more flexible hour. So I'm going to go into real estate. Well, the first thing you learn in real estate is your hours are not flexible. You are at the mercy of your clients. Which is fine. And if you learn that, it actually helps you be a little bit more successful because it really isn't about you, it's about them. And if you try to put your clients first all the time, you usually will win and it will be appreciated. And then, it'll pay you back tenfold. So, in between going to the baseball games and then going to a showing and back, I sometimes used to drag the little ones with me on a showing or an open house. And lo and behold, I do have a son that's in real estate now too. So it's kind of funny. Yeah, so that came full circle. But I did start out when the kids were really small. And they literally would come to office meetings with me. My youngest was, I think, 2. And he would sit on my lap in the office meetings these are like weekly meetings with all the agents and stuff. And I was fortunate that he's pretty good and they'll listen. So I was able to take him with me and stuff like that. But there were many nights where just doing stuff and bringing them all into the office. And fortunately, my office was on the 2nd floor. So sometimes they would be little boys and run around, All the old biddies in the office would let you know, but pretty much for the most part, no one had a problem with them. And it's funny because a lot of the same people I started with, I'm still working with today. And, it's really cool because they've all seen my kids grow up in the business and in town because I've been working in this town for the last like 24 years. So yeah,
Wow.
that's where it started. And it was a great choice. I really do. I love what I do. It's very challenging, but for the most part, I like people. I do love a challenge, and there's many times where it is such a challenge. I don't think there's any job in the world that you do where you put in a lot of effort, a lot of time, and a lot of money with the possibility of not getting paid a dollar. And it's pretty crazy. And you have to be kind of a little crazy to do it because you're investing a lot. Just your licensing and things like that are enough money. But then again, you're putting in money towards like advertising and marketing and, going back and forth to things and just, driving around to things. And, sometimes there is no return. But usually there is a return. So, that's why you're successful. But there's a possibility and things, there's other things that get in the way of you getting paid too, which is another thing that's really crazy. Like if you're doing your job, you're getting judged and paid and based on the job that you do. And I can do a great job and fantastic and do everything right. But if that person loses a job like 3 days before closing, or they have a change of heart, or maybe their husband didn't get the job transfer and they don't buy the house, I don't get paid. We don't even get a consolation prize. So,
I think a lot of people don't know that necessarily about real estate. I have
right.
a background in real estate as well, so I learned that very quickly too, that yes, it's more flexible than a 9 to 5, but at the same time you're working 24/7 and you might not see any prize for that. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people don't necessarily know that you don't get a salary, you don't get an hourly rate. You
No,
get
not
paid
at
only
all.
when something closes, and like you
Yes.
said, so much is out of your hands in a deal, even if you do everything perfect.
Yeah, it really is. It's very overwhelming at times, but you really have to focus on the long game. If you want to make real estate like a side gig or a hobby or whatever, you come into the office and say, "I like houses," you know. I can usually say that you'll probably last about 6 months. If you make it a year, that's great. But like if you are going to do this as your career and and raise a family and, expect a paycheck, you are going to be working like 24/7 as much as you can and really try to accommodate people and be there for them. Without having them take advantage of you too. So you kind of learn that over the years and when to kind of give, but then sometimes, when to pull back.
Mhm.
But you have to be accessible. And, especially we've just come off of a COVID market for the last, 2020, 21, 22, where like little inventory. And if you had people that were looking and you wanted them to get something, you're going to have to like drop everything and go. And,
Mhm.
you really need to know and you need to do that and you need to be accessible if you want to be successful.
Right.
And, I don't think we'd be here if the end game for me wasn't success. That's why I'm working with you guys.
Speaking of that, when you came to work with us, you have so many strengths that make you successful in the real estate world. You are personable, you're knowledgeable, you're motivated to make this happen. You understand that it can take time for a deal to come through, but you put in the time and the effort. So it's no surprise that you're really good at what you do and you've had a successful 24 years. But you came to us for the same reason that a lot of people in similar roles come to us, where if you don't work hard, you're not going to get a paycheck, right? That's a really hard thing. It's, yes,
Yes.
you can maybe make your own hours, but to to be in charge of making your own money. And if you don't put that effort in, you're not getting paid. That's really hard. And you have to be really organized to make sure that you know when your next lead's coming in and
Right.
everything's working out according to plan, as close as possible to plan. So when you came to us, I guess maybe tell us a little bit about why you thought it might be a good idea to work with us and what you could work on. Even though you had such a strong skill set, what would make your business a little bit easier and your workflow better?
Yeah, that's a great question because a lot of times, like over the years, you're learning how to do your job and how to input a listing and how to market and how to this and how to that. Well, you're busy doing your job and taking people out or hosting an open house or doing something else. You still need your business to be churning and earning and reaching out in the background as well. And when you have a lot of clients and you have them all at the same time and you're really busy, you really need to stay on task in this kind of profession. And while you're doing one thing, you still need to be doing something else too. And I came to you guys to help me focus on the things that are going to help me get more business while I'm working on actually producing the business. So it was twofold, but trying to meld the two together and also stay organized. There's a lot of different tasks or goal-oriented things that you've taught me or helped me with, or just even being held accountable by someone is so extremely important in this business because it's so easy to get wrapped up in, you might have 5 deals going on at the same time. You're returning people's phone calls. You're, showing up for the appraiser. You're doing this, you're doing that. But you really need to be held accountable to continue your momentum going forward. And that's where you guys come in. And, the idea that for me personally, once a week is a really, really life-saving thing because I know that not only am I going to have a follow-up list, so we're working on the things while we're working on it, but then I have a follow-up list, and then I know that I'm going to check in again in 7 days to make sure the follow-up list that we're all working on has either, we resolved something or did we come across a problem that had to, maybe be resolved again. And it's just really being held accountable is so important in this job. It's very, very important. And it's been a great thing for my business. It's been very helpful for me personally.
I'm so happy to hear that. We just love working with you. And as you were talking, I was reflecting on some of the systems that when we first met that you brought. And what's coming to mind is your mail and your notes on your envelopes and stuff.
Oh,
And
God.
and it was so incredible to me. What struck me, when I first met you was I was like, wow, she keeps so much in her head, right? Like
Yeah.
you're able to keep track of and you remember, like I could ask you about any of, the houses that you sold last year and you're like, oh, this person. And one of our calls within the last few weeks, we were data sourcing. And I remember you knew off the top of your head every single person and how you met them and the source. And it was
Yeah.
incredible to me how much you're able to retain and those executive function skills like the short-term memory and long-term memory and task initiation and planning and time management. All of that comes into play when you're working for yourself.
Trying to do that.
But
Yeah, definitely.
you had no lack of ambition or work ethic or like we're constantly learning from you around your mindset and I'm like how has she done this all by herself like for 24 years and had you're a top producing agent and we'll sing your praises on here.
Love it.
You do it so well, right? And you've been doing it in the way that makes sense to you for so long. So when you were chatting, I was just thinking of, what would you say? So if we're going from like your organization system of your envelope notes to
Yep.
now, what are little tweaks that you've done that you think have been helpful, I guess, or what's coming
I'm,
to
I'm
mind?
laughing because I'm looking out the side
And
here.
your envelopes.
No, you will be so proud of me. Not only do I have cobbled
Ooh.
finger like flip notes and things like that. And this was our last meeting. This was and I write on both. I have actually 2 of them going right now. That, and then I have my full notebook. So it's been better than the envelopes.
One
And
place. I love it.
yeah, one place, a little better, as long as I don't lose them. And you know what? I realized too, there's a spot in my bedroom where usually I'll stand and take a call, and I have a lists that I made to hand out to people with my card on it and all this other stuff. And those are up by the phone too, because if someone calls me, the most important part of my job is listening. Everything is listening. And I like to write things down because I do forget plenty. And if you're talking, I'm writing. And you know how you guys do it for me? When I'm talking, you're writing.
Mhm.
That's what I have to do for my clients. And, so now I'm a little better and I don't have to grab an envelope. I feel a little bit more in charge. So I
I
do have
love that you
little
do that.
notebooks.
I know. I remember when we flipped it around and we took a picture and put it in ChatGPT, and then you had like a little summary on your phone. But I think my point in bringing that up is that you have so many systems in place already that you function on, that you thrive
Yeah.
on. So for you, you were an easier client in the sense of like we didn't have to tell you how to work hard. You already do that. You
Right.
already have all of these systems in place. It's been really fun for us in a way to kind of show you like the potential behind, oh, this you can also put this out in a different
Yeah.
way, and
I
talk
love it.
shop with you because you already are doing so much so well, as Georgia said.
I,
So
I love it. I love it. It's just, you know what I think too? I think when you are doing well, and the last few years have been really spectacular for me, and the market's been better, that helps you. So you become an even better agent. So now like you can get this done, that done, this done. So you just want to keep leveling up. And I think the best thing for someone who is like a top producing agent, when you're doing a lot, is to have a team in place to help you level up. Like, yes, I do have all those systems in place, but clearly we can do things to make it even better. And, I've always been a very motivated person, self motivated, especially when it comes to like job and work and that kind of stuff. And the one thing I can say, and I will take a pat myself on the back, is I notice it within my sons as well, that every one of them is really motivated and really hardworking. And we won't go down that road because every mom says the same thing about their kids. My kids tell me that all the time. But I'm like, you know what? If I were to hire people, like I would definitely hire you guys, because number one, you care about what you do. Number two, you work hard at it, and you're always thinking of how you can work harder or do it better. And to me, it's like so great to have something like this in place. And also, I did hear it from one of my sons. So that's very helpful too. And it really does. It's really something that you need to get to the next level. Like you're happy with what you're doing, but you could always do better. And how do you do better when you're doing the same thing for all these years? Okay, well, let's break it down and let's get organized and things like that. And I don't care what we learn, we can learn a million new things, but even just someone keeping you on task, I think, is really super important. Or even if it's like a bad transaction that you're working on, or you're not looking forward to something, just putting it out there, and then having like, now there's two people hearing what I'm saying, kind of mulling it over and spitting back maybe what could be a better way, or but did you think of this or did you think of that? And I think everyone could really benefit from something like that if you want to be successful. If you don't care, well then hey. But if you want to be successful and you want to, I think we all know things, but sometimes it's always good. Like you said, you guys are not real estate agents, but you're organizational specialists and things like that. And just to have somebody else kick it back and look at it and spit it back to you is like really invaluable stuff, you know?
It's true. And I mean, Christine and I are lucky because we are a partnership. So we work together and we are executive function coaches. We're productivity specialists, like you just said. But that doesn't mean we're perfect. And that doesn't mean that we don't have to constantly adjust and be flexible and change
Right.
things up and see what's working. And so having each other to bounce ideas off of is so
Yeah, I think
helpful.
it's
And so
important.
exactly. And so we're so happy to be able to do that for you and to do that for all types of people that are in your shoes, meaning people that are kind of solo in their business, right? Like you work at
Right.
an office, you see people, you're always with, forming relationships, but you wear all the hats and you have to
Right.
do a million things. And you're
Right.
such a good example of there is no perfect system. So anyone listening who feels like they have to fit into a mold of like using a certain system, that is not true.
No.
You are extremely successful person. We just talked about how you write notes on envelopes and that works for you.
Yeah.
So a system is a system if it works for you and you have found yours, but you're also open to learning and growing and continuing to find ways to work smarter, not harder. And
So important.
that's what we do. That's our goal is to help people get time back in their week. As an
Yeah.
entrepreneur or a busy, high performing professional, you're going to have so much to do all the time,
Yes.
but there's a difference between being busy and being productive. And I feel
Yeah,
like
that's so true. That's a
you're,
very good point. Yeah, very
yeah.
good point.
And you're very busy, but you're using your time well. And I think that that's the big difference.
Yeah.
When you think about your field in real estate, so we work with a lot of different professional fields, which we love because we love seeing how differently everyone works, and sometimes even within the same team, there's different personalities in every office, right?
Yeah.
When you think about real estate specifically, what do you feel like is one thing that you have learned, whether, in thinking about how you work and working differently through, executive function coaching and productivity coaching? What is one thing that you wish other realtors would understand about, about your field and what you do?
I think they need to, sometimes you need to just stop. And I always say that real estate is very common sense based. Like when you're just trying to either get a listing or you're talking to someone about a listing or even a purchase, like if you just stop and don't worry about all the scripts they taught you and this and that and everything else, and just kind of use a little bit of common sense in a way to either like step back and try and solve the problem, or or ask someone else. Never be too worried about asking someone, like kind of dive right in there. And I notice, like when I'm in the office, the people that really, will kind of dive in and ask questions of others are usually the ones that are doing a little bit better, because like you're not afraid to ask. You kind of have to. The job is all about ego in a way, because you're the person. It's like hire me, hire me, hire me, me, me. But really, you can't have too much ego, because you do need to learn and you do need to kind of figure it out. So you're kind of at the mercy of other people sometimes, even if it's a system or a new way of doing something. I happen to come across that today, like systems that I know how to do all the time. Now I was having some kind of issue, and I hate when that happens, because then you got to call in and you're like, wait, what about, you know,
Hmm.
what I say to people is our like MLS and our programs and all these things are geared towards all different kinds of people. Happen to have a degree in accounting and I'm a college grad, but you don't have to be a college grad to be in real estate. I understand that too, because the systems are all set up for all kinds of people. So if that is a problem or something comes up, you got to stop and think and go, okay, wait a minute. This has to be logic driven, like
Yeah.
I can figure this out. So, never let your ego get in the way of that, and always just, kind of dive in, and usually people will be very helpful. I've been fortunate to come across those kind of people in my whole career, and that's really how I learned. But, I think that would be it. Like, don't be afraid to ask questions. Everybody kind of works differently, and I think the people that come into the office or go into a main place are the ones that kind of want to learn from different people, because there's different levels of help there. But then again, there's people that never go to the office and they're super successful, but they have their own way of doing things. So I guess maybe stick with what works for you and never be afraid to ask or change it up. So I don't know. I hope that answers the
No,
question.
it does. It does. As you were talking, I was thinking about how some of the best realtors we know, I'm pretty sure we work with them, that are outside of the box thinkers. And when you're talking about
Oh, yeah.
being able to like logically walk through a problem too, you know, that is, I feel like, probably one of the most important things with selling a house, right? You have to be able to,
Yeah.
you're not going to start talking to someone about a pool if they hate swimming and are afraid of the water, right? Like you're not
Yeah.
going to highlight that feature on the house. And a lot
Right.
of that is you have to be really quick on the fly. You have to be able to adapt and be flexible and, you know, kind of all
Yes.
of those executive function skills that we talk about and work on with people. You really have to embody as a realtor. And you know, like the regulation piece of waiting and the patience and like that grit in between of like grinding to get to the finish line.
Right.
It's like you said, it's not for the faint of heart.
No.
It's a
And the
long
most
process.
important thing that someone told me years ago, and it's so true no matter what level of real estate you're in, we need to just sometimes shut up. The most
I didn't know what you were gonna say at all.
important thing we can do sometimes is be quiet because sometimes, you're in a job where very gregarious and very engaging and all that kind of stuff. And you want to give them all the answers, but sometimes, like, you just need to zip it. Because, like, you really can't. You can stick your foot in your mouth. You might quote something that might not be the code or the current code or this or that. But you know what? The best thing you can do is just say, you know what? That's a great question. I'll get back to you on that. And there's no shame in that. And sometimes the more you listen, and I know I've lived this for 24 years, the more you listen, the better off you're going to be because you know what? That strong, domineering husband could be saying he only wants to spend 750, 750, 750. But if you listen to the wife, the kitchen is the most important thing, and none of these 750s have the kitchen she wants. We better, listen and find a couple more with some nicer kitchens. So, like
I
it's so
think
important.
I think that's good advice for everyone, not just
It
realtors.
is.
I think listening is a lost skill. Everyone wants to
Ooh,
share their
yeah.
opinions these days, and
Oh,
you just need
God
to
help
listen.
us.
So
And that's
that
a
could be a
whole
whole,
nother
yeah,
podcast.
yeah, we're not going there, but good tip for everyone, not just the realtors out there.
Yeah.
You said something before about, kind of your piece of advice for realtors is kind of like do it your way, like do what works for you. Be open to learning, but do what works for you. And that's a common message that we share out too. And in thinking of that, everyone's definition of success is different. Everyone's,
That's true.
moving towards success in a different way. And we love to ask people if they have any habits that aren't like trendy or like super fancy, but just a habit that helps them be successful. And even if it's really simple, like you shower at night so that you have the morning free or something silly. Do you have any
Oh,
habits like
see,
that?
I see.
Yeah.
Well, no, one of my crazy habits is writing on envelopes. That is one of my crazy habits,
True.
definitely. And if it's not an envelope, that means I'm in the car. So if there's a receipt on the floor, I'm
I,
writing on that.
I
I was
love
gonna
it.
say, what about when you walk Bo? You kind of habit stack something when you walk your dog.
Oh,
Because we've
I
been on the
do.
receiving end of it before.
Oh, I
You
do
like
try.
you like to chat
Yeah, I
while you
do.
walk.
I do try to call people when I'm walking,
Yeah.
after I'm on the hill because I'm out of breath and it's way too obvious. Yeah, I do like to call people or make calls when I'm out on my walk because, like, like you feel like you have to do more than one thing. And I do try to watch the traffic, so there's that. But I do like to try to call or get in touch with people. And you know what? I do try to keep it to more personal conversations, people that I know a little better, instead of like returning a professional call sometimes. But sometimes it's kind of endearing to say like, hey, I'm out on a walk, but I'm still calling you back. Too, you never know. But I do like to do that. I like to take my walk and make my calls. Or if I'm in my car, I'll pick up that phone and just call people too, because it is a nice quiet space when you're in the car. It's nice to be able to kind of do that and not feel like you're interrupting anyone else, and they can hear you pretty good too. So that's always a nice thing.
It's a
So
good
true.
book too. Before we hop off and get all of your information, if anyone is interested in working with you, when you think back to your 24 years, we like to ask if there is a particular story that sticks out that's like a funny, crazy,
Oh
very
God.
sweet story. We love to hear. I'm sure you have
Uh,
one, whatever comes to mind first.
you know what? Because like there are so many stories. There are my very first clients that I had. I went to every town. They didn't really know what they wanted, and they weren't spending a lot of money. But like it wasn't a very high priced home, but I went all over the place. I went to like probably 7 different towns and stuff like that. And as you grow in the business, like that's something, no, no, no. We're going to listen and we're going to kind of try to, if you're spending X amount of dollars and all the homes in this one town are well over that, we're not going to go there just to see, like we really have to kind of you learn to rein it in a little bit. I had another client that we had to get some kind of a tax release or something that I've never even heard of that held up our closing. And these poor people, like I had worked with her trying to find her something, and then that didn't work. So, like 3 years later, we were looking for the house and we're almost closing. And I think, if the story goes correctly, I think her dad worked for the tax department or something like that, and like we literally had to have him make phone calls, and the mortgage person and myself and we're on the phone with people like every day just trying to get this thing released. And all it was like a tax transcript or something, but you can't make the government do what you want it to do. um
Gosh.
Sweet stories. Well, I know that probably one of my favorite stories of the last 2 years, I helped someone. She was a personal referral, and the initial friend was a referral to me. I helped her, and it was a hard situation. Her mom was aging out of the house, so there was a lot to be done and things like that. And then we had a tenant that was just awful. But helped her. And when I was over visiting her, she was talking about her friend that's going to be selling. And I'm like, oh my goodness, you got to give me her number. Well, this friend had a massive house, and her kids were grown. She just lost her husband a year before that, who like really did all the bills, did everything. The house had a big in-law on it, which they had for the mother-in-law who passed a while ago. She had this massive, like 5,600 square foot house. And, it was really a daunting task. And I don't know how, but the two of us, like, that was one of my most successful stories. Like, we got it cleaned out. I helped her get this program that actually, like, it pays for like painters or junk removal or this or that or stagers. It's
Such a
a
big process.
it's a Caldwell Banker program that lets you borrow up to the amount of the listing side commission. So you don't have to put out a dollar, but we had painters come, we had junk removers come, we had a stager come, and that was all being paid. And then you pay it back at closing. And little by little, between some of my contractors and even grass cutters and this and that, like she got this house cleaned out, staged. I don't know. I don't think she slept. She is just a wonderful, sweet person. She had 3 cats, 4 at the beginning. She had 3 cats, and the cats would like walk around, so you couldn't like show the house, and then you got doors open and the cats are going to go out. So she would have to put each one of these cats in a cat carrier every time we were showing the house. And I am not a cat person, but the cats, one used to hide, and he would come out when I got there. This sweet little cat, he would come out, and I'm like, okay. And then like a couple times I had to put him in his crate, or and I'm not a cat person, so I'm picking up the cat like this, trying to put him in his carrier. And it was so wonderful, and to be done with that. Even to the end, to the negotiations, how I structured the deal so she wouldn't have to move until everything was closed and taken care of. Like, and she's gonna move again now, and
Oh,
she's just such a sweetheart, and she like had such a big piece of my heart. Um, and we did it, and we did it successfully, and I just love her to pieces. She listened to everything I said, and I really felt like I really helped her. And
you
I
did.
know she was very
Yeah.
appreciative of me, and as I was of her and her new friendship. But yeah, that was really a big one, and it took us a bit, but we got there, and I was so happy for her at the end too, and she was happy too.
That's amazing. And
Yeah,
for anyone listening right now that heard that story and is like, oh my gosh, I want to work with Maryanne,
yeah.
how can people find you? Tell us just really quick, we only have a couple minutes, but tell us, the areas you serve and then how people can find you, and we'll put that all in the show notes too.
I am, people can find me online and on my website. It's MaryanneBetso.com,
Hmm.
and put my phone number out there because that's the best. I'm always, my phone is with me 24/7. I usually answer up until 11, 12 o'clock at night and 7 in the morning. Phone and text and all that stuff is really the best way to reach me. But I work predominantly in Fairfield, Litchfield, and New Haven counties, and it's more southern New Haven County, like closer to like Southbury and Middlebury and Cheshire and things like that. And then Fairfield County, all lower Fairfield County, and then up to Litchfield County as well, which you have Roxbury and Woodbury, and it's a big circle of the southwest corner or northwest corner of Connecticut, that whole side. So, but I can work anywhere, and
Yeah.
I have successfully closed and referred homes and closed on them in Hawaii, in
Oh,
Texas, Florida, Maryland, Delaware, New Jersey, North Carolina, Massachusetts,
of course.
and Rhode Island, and Rhode Island. Yeah. So, and New York, of course, New York, we're right over the border. But a lot of times people don't realize, but like if you're moving out of state, especially any of my clients, I've worked with them, I know them, and maybe I know that they're very particular, or I know that they're just kind of tire kicking right now or whatever. I will go online and I will research, then call and talk to and interview agents for you so that I can make a perfect match and help you buy in another state. So, yeah, I've been really successful at that. And I love doing that for people because, it is pretty important. And if they trust you, to take care of their stuff here,
Mhm.
they're happy to hear what you have to say on the other side. And it's important because I don't just fill it in and send it off to corporate and let them pick anybody.
Mhm.
I know the people, or I will talk to the people and interview them myself. Then I will call and try and find an agent that can match their personality or what they're looking for specifically, which has really been successful for the people that I have referred. And again, all about the listening.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, thank
Yeah.
you so much for being here tonight, Maryanne. It was so great to learn from
My
you.
pleasure. My pleasure. I loved it. And happy to do it again. And I thank you for your help because you guys have been tremendous to me. So I look
Amazing.
forward to more meetings.
Us
Definitely.
too.